What's up, guys? This is fitdred.com, and I'm finally doing a Hyperspin tutorial today. I got off of work early, so I figured, well, it's been forever since I've promised you guys that I would do the tutorial, and I keep saying when everyone asks me that, oh, it's coming soon, and my laziness kind of gets hold of me and says, you're never going to do it. So I figured today I would actually sit down and walk through the steps with you guys, but before I do, uh, my Hyperspin tutorial is going to tailor to certain groups of people. If you're somebody that wants the build to just be complete immediately, you're going to have a bad time with this tutorial. If you want to be able to build it yourself, if you want to be able to learn how Hyperspin works and how to customize things, then this tutorial should be more tailored to you, because somebody like me, I wanted to build everything from scratch. First off, I couldn't find a build that was already completed, and now that it's done, I have yet to see somebody that has a completed build across the board hosted somewhere. You won't find it. Now, what you will find are people that have builds without ROMs, that have all the themes included, and that's what I've used. I found somebody's torrent that had all the themes and stuff like that for the common emulators, like all the supported emulators. So I had all the themes finished like that. I was happy. It was already in directories and everything and named the way it was supposed to. The only thing I had to do was add the ROMs and rename the ROMs, which I'm going to help you with today. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start off. I'm going to download Hyperspin. I'm going to download emulators that are supported, and I'm going to get a few systems working so I can show you guys the workflow. Okay, the workflow is basically going to be, before I get into it, download Hyperspin, update Hyperspin, and Hyperlaunch, and then after I have it updated, find out what emulators are supported, download the emulator, and get a game working in Hyperspin. So I'm not going to do any crazy theme stuff today. All I can tell you is if you want to find the themes, you can look on certain sites. There's a lot of theming. You can go to emumovies, I think it is, .com, and if you subscribe to them, you can access their FTP, which is really nice because they have a huge repository that's constantly updated. And it'll automatically update. It has a downloader that'll download all your theming and everything like that. It's really clean and nice. I have yet to do that, so just so you guys know, my build, I downloaded the theme package and I made the themes that aren't supported, from the emulators that aren't supported, I made myself, or I found somebody else that made them and I downloaded their theme. So let me go ahead and start with step one, and it's downloading Hyperspin. Alright, so first step is to download Hyperspin. So I'm using Windows 8, and for my tutorial, it's going to cover basically all Windows platforms. It's going to work for Windows 7, which is my primary build is Windows 7, and also my home theater PC is Windows 7. My home computer is Windows 8. It's what we're going to be doing this tutorial on. Before I say anything else, I know some of you commented saying maybe I should run it on other platforms. I don't even know if they have Hyperspin for other platforms. Maybe they do, but my preferred platform of choice is going to be Windows, and there's a lot of theming things you can do to make it hidden if that's your preference. So I go to the Hyperspin link, and at the top you see a downloads link. Let's go to Hyperspin, and Hyperspin 1.0 releases, Hyperspin downloads. Alright, so what we have here is a bunch of update packs too. Alright, so first you can see the most latest version is 1.2. It says updated exe file for Hyperspin. So let me read real quick. Alright, so basically we install this first. Hyperspin 1, download, and let me log in. And give me a second. So you have to log in, go back to the Hyperspin page, download. Oh god. Apparently my security token isn't valid. Let me just try it one more time. Alright. Well, normally this download link works, but apparently it doesn't work for me. So, okay, there it is. I just had to refresh the page. Okay. So I have Hyperspin installed downloading. It's pretty big. It's going to take me 5 minutes. And while that's downloading, let's go ahead and get the other pieces. So let's go to downloads again. Hyperspin. And let's go Hyperspin releases. Hyperspin downloads, Hyperspin update. So let's go ahead and update. Click download, slow down. We're going too fast. Okay, that's fine, that's fine. So we'll wait while that's downloading. Now, one thing you gotta make sure that you do is have an up-to-date Hyperspin. This is very important. So, along with this, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you the other Hyperspin downloads also. So, downloads, Hyperspin, and we also need Hyperlaunch. This is very important. So, let's see if they have it. I don't see the Hyperlaunch update for it. So what I want to do is just type in Hyperlaunch update into my Google Chrome. This is basically Googling it, okay? Oh, here it is. Hyperlaunch 2.0, 2.x released. So this thread, and just take note of the URL at the top here, because you will need to be here. We'll tell you the exact steps in updating your Hyperlaunch to Hyperlaunch 2.0. This is the most critical and missed step that I see all the time. Everyone comes to me and they're like, I can't get an emulator to work. What do I do? First thing you do is check, did you install Hyperlaunch 2.0? And if not, no wonder it doesn't work. Okay, Hyperlaunch is, from my experience, is the sole problem people have is they're not using Hyperlaunch 2.0 and they're not understanding the modular system, which is, I'm going to scroll to the top. Okay, I don't see it here. Give me a second. Let me open up a new Hyperspin. Looks like they changed to Hyper Tools. Let me just type it into Google. It's a Hyper list. Okay, there it is. It's Hyperlist right here. So what we're looking at here is a list of supported emulators and systems. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna set up for you guys is Nintendo 64. I'm not gonna do MAME first because I'm not gonna be able to copy my entire MAME directory over here as quickly as I can just do an N64. So let's look. So here it shows N64. It's supported because it's in the list. Okay. Now the first thing you need to do is find the AHK file. See this? Auto hotkey is what that stands for. So you click on it, and you're going to see here 4 supported models. These are the versions. These are the emulator and the version of the emulator that is supported, alright, officially supported by Hyperspin. Now you can get unofficially supported emulators, but you have to be the one to be able to create an auto hotkey file. Alright, so first thing we gotta do, I'm gonna see if I can find this version of Project 64. Copy that. I'm gonna say Project 64, paste, and there's some torrents. Alright. I think this is the paid version, isn't it? Project 64. Click. Alright, how do I download this version? Alright, so 1.7 is in beta. So I think 1.6 is what we're going to have to get. So let's download that. And I don't like this because any emulator that doesn't come in a folder and it comes with a setup, I never like it. So let's see, I got Hyperspin install finished, and I need to start downloading Hyperspin 1.2, and I also need to get Hyperlaunch 2.0. So I'm in the Hyperlaunch 2. Let's go ahead and download that. Where's the download for it? Probably at the bottom. Download. Here we go. There we go. So, alright. Let me go back here and make sure I can get a 1.6 Project 64. I can. Alright. I know I'm kind of getting a little quick here, but let me do a recap. Basically, I have here Hyperspin install. Step 1. So let's go ahead and make a new folder. Not a new shortcut. New folder. Hyperspin. Okay. I'm just going to take this, throw it in there. Hopefully it doesn't take all day, so I don't have to do too many cuts. So here we go. And then the next step should be to update the executable. So there we go. Alright, so we have a Hyperspin directory. Close that out. Hyperspin 1.2. Throw it in there. Alright, do we want to replace? Yes. Replace. So we just replaced the Hyperspin. So now we're at 1.2. And Hyperlaunch. Okay, here's Hyperlaunch. So to be able to update Hyperlaunch, follow the instructions. And we're going to do this really quick. Okay, we're going to follow the instructions. Okay, this is step 1. Just have patience, follow the instructions. Alright, see? Hyperlaunch is a separate game launcher, blah blah blah. We don't have to compile anything, it uses a models folder. How it works. Alright, all 3 files are found in your Hyperspin settings folder. Step 1. Alright, let me see here. I bet you we're just copying this stuff in here. Alright, so let's copy all that. Replace. There we go. Close that. Alright, so... Yep. Alright, so we threw that in there, right? Alright, on first launch, Hyperlaunch 2 will create many new INI keys in settings to INI. The first time you launch a game, it will create more keys. So, a good idea to just launch a game from it, even if it fails, just to have it generate. Step 2, make a new folder called Models. Alright, this step is so important. New folder. Models. Modules, models. Here we go. Models. Alright, each model goes into a folder of the system name, blah, blah, blah. Okay? Now, keep in mind, right now my Hyperspin directory is on my desktop. This is unrealistic. Let's say we want it on the C drive. So let's go to my computer and let's just paste it. Okay, there we go. So for me, in my personal setup, I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys. On my arcade, I have 2 drives. I have my boot drive, which is drive C, and then I have my Hyperspin drive, which is drive letter P. The reason I went with drive P is because it's barely used, and it's convenient because if I move my hard drive to like a new computer, right, or I clone my hard drive and put it on a new computer because I want to have another arcade or whatever, all I'd have to do was make sure that drive is mapped as P, and all the directory structures will line up. Alright, so here we have our Hyperspin, we got Hyperlaunch, we got a models folder. Very important. Let's see what else. Alright, so now it's going to explain to you in the tutorial. Let's see, I download this. Alright, step 4, each model contains notes. Alright, how to use. Okay, I think we're done here. So let's take a look at what Hyperlaunch is. Double click on it. Here we are. First thing you do is look at all the systems that are by default attached to Hyperspin. Okay. The cool thing is, this is a great place to see if your games and systems will work with Hyperspin. okay, before you even launch Hyperspin, and that takes a long time sometimes to just keep launching it, fingering through, getting to your game, finding out it doesn't work, closing out, try to fix something. Instead of doing that, just run Hyperlaunch. If it launches with Hyperlaunch, it will launch with Hyperspin, okay? And if you have a problem, okay, say you're trying to test with Hyperlaunch. This is crucially important. If you're testing with Hyperlaunch and it crashes, the game does not launch successfully, even if it launches successfully and it doesn't close successfully on like an escape key or something like that, always open up Task Manager and make sure that process is closed. If the process is still running, you will not be able to launch the game, and you will sit there and like, why isn't it launching? Why isn't it launching? It's because you probably have the task still running, and multiple tasks will not run at the same time. This is what it looks like. You launch Hyperlaunch, and because I'm on Windows 8, my task manager looks a little different than 7, but it's about the same thing. You look for Hyperlaunch, and there it is. Okay, if you see Hyperlaunch and it's not supposed to be there, force close that and then try again. Okay, so let's continue. Now that we have a completely up-to-date Hyperspin, let's get Project 64 in here. For me, I like to structure my Hyperspin folders traditionally. If you open up HyperHQ, this is going to be a configuration tool for Hyperspin. Okay, if you look here, you got many tabs: main settings, general, screen, optimizer, attract mode, sound, startup, tools. Just click through the stuff and you can see all the different things you have here. Wheel settings, this is where you configure each individual system. Nintendo 64 is what we're using first. Okay, you can see where it expects the executable to be. And you can see where it expects the ROMs to be. Now, we don't have an emulators folder yet, so let's move this over here. Go ahead and shrink that so we don't have so much stuff on screen, and we'll create the folder it expects, emulators, and we'll go in here. It expects it to be named Nintendo 64 N64, okay, and it expects the Project 64 executable to be within this folder. So we already downloaded Project 64. I'm going to go to my downloads here. Downloads. Here's the setup. So let's run it. Alright, forgive me, it asked me for administrator permissions. Alright, it's saying computing requirements. It's probably going to take all day. That's alright. Next. Alright, now we're going to change the install directory to C, Hyperspin, emulators, Nintendo 64, okay. Next and finish. It's going to install it. Now, the reason I don't like emulators that install this way is because sometimes they'll put stuff in my documents, whether they be save files or configuration files for the emulator, and that makes your Hyperspin build less modular. And what I mean by that is, if I copy my hard drive, my P hard drive, and I copy it and put it in a new computer, but I don't have those config files, you know, it can be a little bit of a pain, but really it doesn't matter, because when you copy it to a new computer, you want to reconfigure all your emulators anyway. So here you can see Project 64, and let's see what version we have exactly. So it says 1.6, and we'll go to About. Apparently it wants me to open Internet Explorer. Alright, so it says just straight up version 1.6, Project 64. Okay. So now that we know we have this, we're not done. Okay, everything matches here except for ROMs. So I don't have any ROMs yet, so let's go ahead and do that. Emulators, Nintendo 64, and normally I'll just name a folder, ROMs. And I don't have any ROMs, and I'm not going to tell you where to get the ROMs. But what I will do is take a ROM that I have for my build. I have two monitors, so I'm looking at my other build on my other monitor here. Let me go to my build. Here we go. Hyperspin, emulators, N64, ROMs. And the first thing we should do, What's a popular one? The Legend of Zelda. I wonder if it's just Legend. Yeah, it is. Ocarina of Time. So let's just drag and drop this, guys. I use TeamViewer to access my... I'm accessing my home theater PC. So the copy is done. So here's the ROM. And I put it in the ROMs folder. Here we go. Here it is. So I have a ROM. I have the emulator. This doesn't match up, obviously. See how the ROMs folder is named ROMs and it expects it to be named ROM files? I don't like doing that. So you can click on this little folder picture and you can actually navigate to your manually created ROM folder. And there we go. Now it has the correct folder in there. You see how we have C:/ and then maybe just slash or dot slash slash dot dot slash. This is if you were unlike me. Okay, I require it to be drive letter P, but if you wanted to create a build and didn't want Hyperspin to care what directory, what drive letter it was, this is what dot slash does. I think it'll assume like it's like your main hard drive, right? C:/. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what this is. And then all these parameters just leave the way they are. And if it doesn't work, it's probably due to your emulator. That a lot of times this stuff is good the way it is. Extensions. This is very important. So first thing you look. All right, and this is a good example. It expects Nintendo 64 ROMs to have the N64 file extension, okay? And that's not always the case. Look at this ROM. This ROM has a Z64 file extension. Alright, this is not the same. I can rename this. Or I could just add more extensions, I think by doing comma, and then just putting it in, Z64. Alright, now it'll accept two different ROM extensions. Okay, and this is important because when it's looking for a game, it's only going to look for the extensions that you put in here. Okay, so let's go ahead and check and make sure that my assumption is correct. That's how you put it in. There's another system in here that has multiple extensions. It might be Nintendo. No. Super Nintendo. I'm pretty sure there's one more in here that you can kind of base it off of. I don't see it in here. Zip. A lot of them use zip. Alright, here we go. Bin and ISO for Sega CD. So it's bin, comma, space, ISO. So I did that incorrectly. Comma, space. So extension, comma, space, next extension, comma, space, next extension. Continue to put it in like that. We are finished here with the configuration. Parameters should stay there the same. Wheel art, this is all up to you. This is where the looks like video files are, sound, everything like that. So this Hyper HQ is set up to work properly. Okay, so we're happy with this. Let's close it for now. Now, Project 64, you can open up and just try to make sure that it works to begin with. All right, you want to make sure your emulator that you're working with works before you do anything. Hyperspin, emulators, Nintendo 64, ROMs. Let's see if it runs. There we go. Works good. So we were successful. The emulator works. It's 1.6. Alright. Now the next thing to do. Alright. Check out the databases real quick. Let me go ahead and explain what each folder does. Hyper theme. That's how you create themes. Okay. That's a you can download a piece of software called Hyper Theme, and you can create your own themes. Media. That's where all your art is. Models. That's where the configuration for each emulator is. Databases. So this is an important folder. Inside of Hyperspin/databases, each folder represents a system. Let's go to Nintendo 64 and see what we have here. We have an XML. If I go ahead and edit that with Notepad++ or Notepad, I like Notepad++. You can see here a very interesting setup here. Each game is defined in here that Hyperspin sees. Every game that you see in Hyperspin will be in this database. Okay, if it's not in this database, your ROM will not show up in that Hyperspin list. There are generators out there that let you basically generate this XML if you don't want to make it manually. Say you have 1,000 ROMs and you want them to be in here. That's cool. You can generate it. But what I found was these databases are the gold standard for how ROMs should be named and everything. Okay, I think that if you had to choose between taking your ROMs and putting them in here or renaming your ROMs to match this database, that's your best option. Okay, and you can update this database if it isn't the most up-to-date database by going to Hyperlist. Alright, and you can see XMLs here. There's an XML here. This is an up-to-date, alright, database file that I just downloaded, and it probably mimics the exact one. See, version 1, they look different, but they're probably about the same. I think this is up to date. I don't know. I'm not going to bother with it because I don't want to jack anything up for this tutorial. I don't want to mess with uncertainties when we want things that work. Okay? So, let's go ahead and leave this for a minute. Alright, Hyperspin databases. This is important. What I do is I just copy this entire directory, okay, and I paste it into the models folder. Okay, now the reason I did that is if you look how it's structured in the database directory, you have one folder for each system. The models folder needs to be exactly the same. Okay, you have to have one folder for each system. Here for N64, there's the XML for databases. That's unused here, okay? That's unused. But what is used is that AHK file that I had you download a while back. So you remember when I said the models folder was for the configuration file for that system, okay? So I went into Hyperlist, okay? I found Nintendo 64. I went to AHK file, and I found the version that we're going to be using of Project 64. I downloaded it, and I have it here still. Pretty sure I downloaded it. Okay, maybe I didn't. Let's go ahead and download it then. So, download now. Throw it in there. Alright, now first thing is you have to have it named a very specific way, okay? Let me go ahead and bring that guy back. Whoa, I'm doing stuff a little crazy. Alright, you see how this XML is named Project 64? That's exactly how it wants your AHK files to be named. Okay, you can delete that. But it needs to match basically your database directory, okay? Because that's the way Hyperspin is going to work. It needs everything to be named exactly proper to how it wants. So just check the database directory and look how it is. Okay, it's this way. Then go to your models directory, go to your system, and see that AHK file we just downloaded? That's configuration, auto hotkey configuration for that emulator. Open it up in Notepad++, and you actually see, you can open it with Notepad also. This is a configuration file. Right? It's kind of complex, but it's not that crazy. There's really simple ones out there, okay? This one's a little complicated. In fact, I think it's a little too complicated for a Nintendo 64. But it doesn't matter. Some of them are complicated, some of them are not, because certain emulators have weird parameters that Hyperspin has to work around. Because Hyperspin itself is just a launcher. It's a front end. The emulators themselves, like Project 64, what's doing the backbone of the emulation and all the crazy stuff. It's the front end that has to be adaptable, and that's what these configuration files do, is add that adaptability. So now we've finally, we've checked everything out. Everything looks like it matches up. will it launch in Hyperspin right now? Probably not. Maybe. It has to, the name has to match. The ROM name has to match the database name. We can check that, and I'll do that in a minute. First, you can see if your emulator is programmed properly by opening Hyperlaunch. Go to Nintendo 64, click the dot. Alright, it already knows what your ROM directory is. Okay, choose a ROM, hit test, see what happens. I see Project 64 down here. It's not full screening though, is it? Well, it appeared to work. I heard it. I didn't see it. But that might be because of the models file. This is the kind of thing we're going to troubleshoot on the fly. First thing I'm going to do is go into the emulator. Okay, I'm going to go to Configure Graphics Plugin, and I'm going to see what it's set to do. The emulator settings are very important. So I want to make sure that it's in full screen. Let's turn on Advanced Mode, because right now it's checked to hide it. Go back in. And let's see, full screen mode, I want it to be full screen. So let's see if I can do 1920 by 1080, 120 hertz. Okay. And windowed resolution, that's all fine. Let's apply it. Let's see if there's any options to full screen. I don't see anything. Okay. So let's try to launch it one more time, and then we'll see what happens. Everything's still here. Test. See it down in the corner here. Oh, you can even see a picture of it. So it looks like it's trying to full screen, but for some reason I don't see it. Hit escape, and it closed properly. You can always check by going to Task Manager and making sure it's not here. Now let's go into the N64 models file here and see what it's telling Hyperspin to do. There's a key delay, there's a timer. We're looking for full screen stuff. So in the notes, a lot of times you can see stuff here. Make sure you apply the patch. See, we haven't done that, so maybe we ought to do that. Let's go to the URL it suggests. Here we go. Patch. Download patch 161 plugins. Is that what to do? Hold on. I don't know what version I have of projects. Let's go into the folder here real quick here. Hyperspin, emulators, N64. Is there a README? Docs, README. Version, hold on. Doesn't really say, does it? What's new? Here we go. Looks like we're just at flat 1.6. Let's download 1.6, see if this is the same thing. It is. Here we go. Update. Here we go. So let's go ahead and do what it suggests. You always want to kind of do that. So here we go. Here's an update. Whoa, it's crazy. Let's go ahead and take it. And I'm going to put it right here. Whoops. Let's just go ahead and drag a new one. Update. Yes. Alright, so it looks like it was successful. Okay, I don't need this update anymore. Let's run it and go to About. And it still says 1.6, but I'm sure it updated. Okay, let's go ahead and be happy with that. Let's try to run it one more time now that we've followed the recommendation to update. Hyperlaunch, test. I'm listening for it. I don't see a full screen. I see it down here. Alright. So let's close that and make sure it closes. It doesn't sound like it is. Give me a second. Didn't close. Alright, let me make sure Hyperlaunch closed. Alright. So let's go back into the models. Nintendo 64. Edit. Slam it against the wall and look for full screen. Actually, blam. If ROM doesn't start automatically, enable advanced setting, reopen settings to go to advanced tab and check start. Start emulation files opened. That's good. Hold on. On loading ROM, go to full screen. This is what we need. Run the emulator manually and hit Control T to enter settings. So it's telling us to go to the emulator, N64, project, open, run that, Control T during the emulator? Yes. Oh, here we go. Video plugins here. Options. On loading a ROM, go to full screen. Okay. Close that. Close this. And this should be it. Hyperlaunch. Test. Give me a second, guys. It looked like it was going to work, but it might be because I'm streaming, so let me turn it off. Ah, it didn't work. Okay. See, this is the kind of stuff that you're going to have to fight. The frustration of something not working. Okay? It's going to happen. Stuff, you know, isn't going to work, and you're going to have to sit there all day. Let's go back to Project 64, edit. And let's just type in, let's see what else it says. Okay. So basically I'm looking for full screen now. Use a loop to edit box. Blah blah blah. Game mode. Blah blah blah. Seems overly complicated, man. Alright. So we've kind of run into a wall here. We could play with it for a little bit longer. Let's go ahead and try it one more time here. Let's go into emulators. I'm not trying to make this tutorial take that long. Project 64, graphics. Alright, so this should be good. This is actually the wrong thing. And then exit. Let's make sure my configuration saved. Yeah, it did. That looks good. Let's go ahead and show the advanced stuff. Here we go. Everything looks good. ROM, all this stuff. Don't need this. Okay. Hyperlaunch. Huh. Oh snap. Alright, I know you guys can't see it. Alright. I don't know what I did, but I know you guys can see it, but it worked that time. Alright. Promise it worked that time. So we're successful. We got Hyperlaunch working. It's a pretty good deal. So let's see if we can get it in Hyperspin, okay? I know that we probably can because I have my ROM named exactly the way it's supposed to. Okay. So, to be able to check if my ROMs are named properly, I use a piece of software, and I'm going to show you what it is. It's called Hypermatch. Okay, there's other pieces of software out there, but I like Hypermatch. So I googled Hypermatch. I'm on the first thing I found. I'm looking at stuff. Donate if you feel like it's worth it. Trust me, this is a beautiful file. Oh no! Looks like that download link was broken. Well, that's a bummer. Why is it broken? Let me go back and see if I can get it again. Well, alright guys, It looks like the download link's broken. So I'm just going to have to host this Hypermatch on my website. Okay. I'll do that. I'm going to upload Hypermatch to fitdread.com. So if you go to fitdread.com, go to downloads. I'm going to upload it into here. Alright. Just go to fitdread.com, downloads, look for Hypermatch. Alright, and donate to the guy. This guy is awesome for making this tool. So first thing you do is go to Nintendo 64, right? So, where is it? There it is. And audit system. Alright, now the top list, what you see is all of the ROMs in the database, or all the games that you have in the database that do not have ROMs that match that name, okay? Now, for example, say, let's go to the very top one, 007-GoldenEye USA, okay? For GoldenEye, I might have a version of GoldenEye that doesn't match that. So what we'll do is we'll audit the system, we'll see that we don't have it, and we'll try to do a fuzzy match, alright, to see if I can see it there. I don't see it because I don't have it. So let's go ahead and grab that ROM, okay? Let's go ahead and grab it. So, and show you what this does and how it can save you hours of time. I'm serious. This is a renaming tool to rename your ROMs. So I got 007 GoldenEye. I'm going to go ahead and put it where it's supposed to go, in the ROM folder, okay? Paste it in there. Or I can't do that. I got to drag it. Give me a second. Dragging it, dropping it. Alright. So, show you what happens when I have a game. Let's show you a few scenarios, okay? Alright, cool. So I have it there. So if I refresh, if I hit audit system, right? Did it just go away? I think it did. There was two of them, right? So here's this. So let's rename this real quick. Let's go to 00. Let's go like another 0 or something. Alright. Hit audit. Right? And let me just click around real quick. Audit. Alright. So hit fuzzy match. It found this. Okay. This is the name. You can see here on the left. This is the name of a ROM it found that might match the ROM it needs. And it does. This is the right game. I'm looking at it. I can see it matches. But what if, you know, this was a little bit jacked up? What if it just said straight up GoldenEye? Oh, I was lucky enough to find it. Now, you might have to change the tolerance level. If it's too high, it won't be able to automatically kind of find things that might match it. If it's too low, then you're going to find a ton of games. Like, if I lower it to 0, Zelda's going to show up in there. You know, it's basically doing like a algorithm to detect names that are similar to each other, and your tolerance level is how tolerant it is. If it's really high number, then it has to be exact before you know, it'll match. If it's really low, then super lenient. If it's 0, it's going to find all of them. And sometimes it's necessary. If you know that you have 007 GoldenEye here, but it's named like Golden Space Eye, and for some reason it won't find it, like, you know, you might have to go to 0 and just go to it like this and go, okay, I know this is this, rename it. Okay to rename it? Yes. File completion successful. Now, in this top list, 007 GoldenEye USA is gone. If I audit system, well, it shows up again. It's kind of silly. I don't think it should, but hit this. Now it's gone. We're good. As you can see, this is how you rename stuff. So, for Zelda, I would go to Legend, Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and it's named correctly, obviously, but, so I do a fuzzy match, and I'd probably do 7. I like to run 7, and you can see there's the match. And if this was named, like, say it didn't have this part right here. Say it just had Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, fuzzy match, okay? Or what if it was just named the Ocarina of Time fuzzy match? It's not going to find it. This is where you gotta lower the tolerance level, because you know you got it. There it is. It found it. Okay. Rename it. Yes. There you go. You see it renamed. Now you know that it matches what it wants, okay, in Hyperspin. So now that we're satisfactory here, we know, since it launched in Hyperlaunch successfully, and it's named properly, there's no doubt in my mind, if I go to Hyperspin and launch Hyperspin, that it will launch successfully, alright, that Nintendo 64 game. So let's go in to Hyperspin, hit enter. You guys gotta forgive me if the volume levels are really awkward. It's super loud in my ears. Alright, so 007, will that work? Let's hit enter. And you guys won't be able to see it. I'm doing a screen capture on my desktop, but it doesn't show games that go full screen. So if I close it, now I'm back in Hyperspin. And I can go all the way down to Super Nintendo, right? EFGH, or not Super. Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Hit enter. You guys can't see it, but it's full screening. Alright, you guys can't see it. It's going in full screen. Now we're back in Hyperspin. It worked. It worked successfully. Alright, there we have a successful. We successfully got Nintendo 64 working. Eureka. You know what I mean? It's easy to get some systems working. It's difficult to get others. As you can see, I had full screen problems with that one. I was able to work through those problems. Basically, your workflow is going to be download and update Hyperspin, get Hyperlaunch 2.0, do the steps I said to make the models folder here, and then when you want to get a system working, first step is to see, alright, like say I wanted to get, let's get an easy one, a Nintendo Entertainment System. Alright, we can just leave that in there for now. First thing you do, Hyperlist. Nintendo Entertainment System right here, right? Get the AHK file. So, what emulator do you want to use? There's obviously a lot here. I'll tell you right now, I'm pretty sure I'm using JNES. Okay? You can try different ones. Certain emulators are better than others. So try multiple and find one that's working, that works for you. Okay? Because some of them are garbage. So I use JNES, okay? So I'm going to download the AHK file, and I'm going to type in JNES into Google. I'm going to go here. Oh, here we go, JNES. Okay, this looks promising, right? For Windows, where's the download? There's downloads button over here. Version 1.1. Now this is important. When you have an option to download a version, you want to try to get the one that matches here. So what do we have here? JNES 1.0.2. Let's see if we can get that. Here's 1.0.2. We can get it. Download it. Click here to download. Let's see. That's an update. I wonder if it'll just like straight up install it. So it gives me an option of where it wants to install. I'm going to give it my Hyperspin folder, right? So let's go ahead and Hyperspin emulators. And we have N64 here. But we need to have a new folder. Oh, shoot. I'm pretty sure it needs to be named Nintendo Entertainment System. Hit OK. Install. And we are complete. Right? So let's go and... Oh yeah, if you're not sure what the name of the folder needs to be, like I'm not, I'm going to go to Hyper HQ. And I'm going to look at the wheel settings. And Nintendo Entertainment System. Oh, okay, so it was actually way off. See, this is what it expects. So this is actually if you were using this emulator too. We're not using this emulator. So let's go ahead. Emulators and Nintendo Entertainment System. And then, hold on, let me see if it installed. JNES. We don't want that. Let's go ahead and take this stuff, put it here, and get rid of that JNES folder. JNES.exe. Where's HyperHQ? Okay. And we don't have a ROMs folder yet, so let's make one. ROMs. And let's change the ROM path. Emulators, Nintendo Entertainment System, ROMs. There we go. We got the everything set up here. It wants zip files. So first off, let's get a ROM here. Let's get Super Mario Brothers. Right, Super Mario Brothers 3 is my favorite. Let me go ahead and throw that into the ROMs folder. And it's done. It's a very small ROM. There we go. And it's .NES. So, alright, we need to add that extension. Comma, space, NES. Okay, we added that. And it'll save automatically. You just close it. Okay. So, alright, we got JNES. Let's open the emulator here. Alright, ROMs. Let's just see if the game runs. Yep, runs just fine. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is you got to program the controls to your control panel, and I'm sure that you'll figure that out. You just go into the emulator settings and configure your controls to whatever you like, whether they're keyboard, gamepad controls, or they are arcade controls, likely emulating keys, keyboard presses. So here we have a successfully working Nintendo emulator. And we have the AHK file. Let's go ahead and throw that guy into the models folder here. You can see we have Nintendo Entertainment System. Drag it in, and it's supposed to be named exactly like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy paste and delete that old guy. You don't need the XML. So here we go. Nintendo Entertainment System. AHK. So let's test it in Hyperlaunch. Remember, now it's our test phase. Nintendo Entertainment System. And we're going to look for a ROM, Super Mario Brothers, test, and it's working. Okay. Now, one thing I noticed right away is this guy didn't full screen. Okay, this is good for you guys. You can actually see it. If I hit escape, it closes. That's good. It means it's doing what it's supposed to do, but it didn't full screen. So what you can do is actually go into options, okay, and look and see if there's a setting. See, go full screen when ROM is opened. So let's go ahead and close it. I hit OK, I closed it. Let's try to launch again and see if it works. Full screen. Okay. And it did. It launched in full screen that time. So now the only thing we have to verify is that my ROMs are named correctly. Okay, because I know it'll launch in Hyperspin right now. It launched in Hyperlaunch. That means that it's configured to run properly. We just have to make sure the names match up. So we run Hypermatch one more time. We choose Nintendo Entertainment System and we audit the system. We want Super Mario Brothers, so we're going to go down to Super. Super. I know I'm kind of working fast, but that's why this is a video. You can go back and forth. Alright, so we go here, Fuzzy Match, and we have a match. Rename it, yes. File operation completed successfully. We know that we have a properly renamed Super Mario Bros. 3. We know that it runs in Hyperlaunch. We know everything works. So the first time we try to run it in Hyperspin, it's going to work. Okay. Nintendo. And we're going to go to Super Mario Bros. 2, 3. Enter. And you guys saw that? You guys saw that, right? Alright. I think you did. I'm watching my live stream, like, recording software. Oh, see that? Yeah. I don't know what the controls are because I didn't configure them, but they work. Yay! So that's 2 systems in the long period of time this tutorial's been. So that was 2 successful systems, and you can see now that we have a working ROM. Now we just collect ROMs, okay? And I'm not going to tell you the location of those. You're going to have to find them. Or, either you dump your own or do whatever, okay? After you get the ROMs, rename them with any software that you can find, like Hypermatch. I prefer Hypermatch. It worked for me. It took me weekend, I think, to do all my ROMs, and I had my wife helping me. It was a pain, but, she was graceful to help me get through Super Nintendo and all the really long, complicated ones. And I had to skip a bunch because, sometimes I didn't have the correct ROM. I might be missing a few, and I'm missing a few, but trust me, the big name titles, I made sure that I had those. So, next thing I'm going to show you guys is a very important and highly asked question. Okay, it's how do I get something that's not supported to work? This is a controversial subject because Hyperspin does not officially support newer things like Dolphin emulator. Right? Is it Dolphin? Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, it is. Dolphin emulator, the Dolphin emulator emulates GameCube and Wii titles. Okay, this is something that isn't supported because Hyperspin has a policy where they do not want to support games that are still making money. Okay, they don't want to. They don't want you to have very popular and kind of like in the spotlight systems on their product. Okay, and it's kind of keeping the heat off of them. They're doing classic titles that aren't making really money anymore. It's kind of like their ethics, their code of ethics, and I have a code of ethics similar to this. And the games that I have on my arcade that are newer than 2005, I think, I own. So this is your code of ethics and my code of ethics, their code of ethics. So let's go ahead and say that you own a GameCube game or a Wii game like Super Smash Brothers, and you want to emulate that. Let's go ahead and talk about what we need to do. I'm going to reference my arcade because I've already done this once. And I'm going to go to... Let's add a system, okay? Let's say we want to add GameCube, right? Nintendo GameCube. Let's make it simple. And let's go to Hyperspin. Emulator. So we're adding a whole new thing. So I'm not even going to mess with this yet. Let's go to Hyper HQ, okay? Excuse me. And inside here, you go to wheel. Let's see. I think that's wheel. No, maybe. Yeah, here we go. Add new item to the main menu. Nintendo GameCube, right? That's what I want. Maybe just GameCube. I'm gonna do Nintendo GameCube. Does it have a sub wheel? Yes. Where do you want it to be? After Nintendo 64. Okay. Yes. Alright, blah blah blah. Blah 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 blah. Okay, let's go to it. So we got a Nintendo GameCube. And it added a database folder, which has nothing in it. It didn't add this, which is fine. We can add a Nintendo GameCube. Alright. And it probably didn't add one of these, did it? Nintendo... no. So we can add Nintendo GameCube here. Alright. And you can see here it's very blank slate. And it's going to be that way. This is where you got to really kind of configure stuff. It's going to be a pain. You're going to play with it. Look at what's already configured. Alright. But you're not going to have the assistance of an AHK file from here. Okay. If I go to Hyperlist and I look for Nintendo GameCube, it's not here. It doesn't exist. So what you have to do is create your own. And the way you do this is you find one that's very generic. Okay. And you basically copy it and rename it. I'm going to show you what mine looks like. So for Nintendo GameCube, let me go to my models folder here. Hyperspin, models. You're not seeing what I'm doing over here on my other monitor. Nintendo GameCube. And let's drag and drop. Alright, it's done. So let's open it up. Edit. Look how simple this is, alright? This is a 1.7, Project 64 1.7 AHK file. Okay? Basically, I just copied it and put it in here. And it works. Okay? This works. Put it in there. Okay? Let's leave that alone for now. And let's get the emulator itself. Nintendo GameCube. So let me see what I use so I can reference while I download this from scratch. Nintendo GameCube. Alright, I'm using Dolphin. Let's find out what version I'm using. Blah, blah, blah. It won't let me launch it. Whatever. Well, let me launch it. So some DLLs are missing. Whatever. Let's just download a Dolphin version here. Let's just do Dolphin. Whoa. Emulator. Download. Let's see if I can just download here. A whole bunch of different ones here. I like to do 32-bit versions because you never know what you're using. Doesn't really matter if you're using, if you run a 32-bit versus 64. Like, it's safer to just go 32 because 32-bit systems will only run 32 and will not run 64, whereas 64 will run both. So to me, it's worthwhile to run only 32-bit, especially because you're not getting that big of a benefit. So as you can see, I have a Dolphin version here. I can double click, and it's going to take all day to open. In the meantime, I'm going to make a ROM folder, new folder, ROMs, and here we go, Dolphin. Some crazy version. Close out of that. Let's go and find a ROM. Okay. Let's see, Super Smash Brothers Melee. Let's take that. All right. And while that's copying, let's we can see a file extension here, GCM. Okay, so let's just add that GCM to HyperHQ, Nintendo GameCube. Since we have the executable for the emulator, we can define it here. Since we have the ROM path, we can define it here. All right, this looks good. This everything here looks good. Execution. This is very important. If it's a PC game and it has an executable, that's where you care about this stuff. For the most part, you'll just leave it like this: Hyperlaunch and disable. Okay. It's very important to leave that the way it is. It's going to take 6 minutes before we can do a test. Okay. So let's make sure everything is good. We have Dolphin. We have. Oh yeah. We'll have to make a database file. So since we don't have a database, since it's non-supported, we'll have to make one. To do that, you can copy one that's already there. Copy this N64 one, just paste it in here. And let's name this Nintendo GameCube. And let's just right-click and open this guy with. You can do Notepad. If I hit Edit, it'll open with that. But I like Notepad++ because I like colors. So here you can see I have a bunch of games that basically don't exist for the GameCube, and that's fine. I'm going to delete these. So I can see the menu parameter here, and the way it's going to end is similar to the way this game bracket does. You can have a /game. So we're going to find the other part of that menu at the very bottom. We're going to select everything in between and delete. Well, actually, you know what? Let's delete everything but one. That way we have a template, correct? So let's select everything but one. Delete. So now you can see we have a very bare bones database file with GoldenEye. You know, we don't really want that, do we? We want Super Smash Brothers in here. So this is where it gets to be a pain. You can create, there's things out there that generate databases. But for me, because I have a few games, not that many, all I did was make it myself. So let's go ahead and take what I created and copy it. And let's just paste it in here. Bow. So you can see I have my name, Super Smash Bros. Melee. I have a random CRC number we don't even need. Manufacturer, year, fighting. I think that I might have researched this stuff. I don't know. Save. Close. So this is still copying, but now I have a database. So let's go ahead, and while this is working, I can actually show you while this is copying the category in Hyperspin. It's not going to have any art. That's up to you to kind of figure out with Hyper theme. So let's go ahead. There's no theme, but you can see it here. And it's just having Super Smash Brothers repeat over and over because, well, it's the only one we put in the database, right? The XML. If I try to launch this, it's not going to work because it's still copying. But what we're going to do is, after this is done in about 1 minute and 15 seconds, we're going to test it. And if I get this working, in this tutorial, then hopefully you'll be able to take what I've shown you here, apply the steps, and you'll be able to go from start to finish with your Hyperspin build. There's going to be a few challenges along the way because every emulator is different. One emulator, let me go ahead and describe a few awkward problems I ran into since I have 45 seconds. It will not full screen, so I'd have to go into a setting file, right? Because some of these emulators you can go in and look at actually like settings, INI, like this guy, right? And see how it has full screen dimensions and everything. I remember one time, whenever it would launch, it would reset this to default. So I had to make this file, I had to change it, save it, and then make it read only so it would never change again. And then suddenly it worked properly. Another emulator wouldn't full screen unless I hit Alt-Enter. And then it would go full screen. There was one way around that was to Alt-Enter and then hit Alt-F4 to have it close. And for some reason after that, it would always open back up into full screen. It was an awkward thing. Another thing you can do is change your AHK file. Remember how I said the AHK files are configuration files for the emulator, right? You can make it so after like 5 seconds of being open, it'll send like an Alt-Enter command, and it'll full screen after a few seconds. And that's a little bit dirtier, but it'll work. So now that we're done transferring, let's go ahead and do a test. Hyperlaunch. And we can go to Nintendo GameCube and find our game and test it. Alright, create save game data, yeah, sure. The game has been created. Alright, hit escape. So we know it runs in Hyperlaunch. It didn't look like it was going to be full screen, so let's go ahead and now that it ran in Hyperlaunch, and I already know it's named properly because I manually put it into this. Okay. Right. Okay, it works. Hit escape. Go back to Hyperspin. Escape. Escape. Close. There you go. I got a non-supported system working right in front of you guys. So, and it didn't full screen. That's when you would go into Dolphin. You would go to configure graphic settings. And this is where you can configure everything. Use full screen, 1080p, aspect ratio. Keep all that. Close. Now that I saved the config, Hyperspin, let's see if it runs in full screen. You probably won't be able to see it at that point. Yay! Alright. So we're good. And close out. There we go. We're good to go. Alright. That looks good. That's real good. That's real good. I'm pretty happy with this tutorial so far. Emulators. Okay, so let's recap. The steps: download Hyperspin, update Hyperspin, get Hyperlaunch updated. Find out what depending on what you want, emulators. You're gonna find the emulators that are supported by looking at the AHK file. You're gonna download the emulator that's supported, along with the AHK file. You're gonna put everything where it's supposed to be. Put the AHK file in there. You're gonna take ROMs. You're gonna put them in there. You're gonna configure HyperHQ, okay, to make sure that everything matches up. Your emulator matches up. Your ROM folder matches up. So Nintendo 64. Make sure everything matches up. Make sure your file extensions match. After that works, you're gonna make sure that your the game actually will launch by going into here. Nintendo 64, you're going to select it, you're going to test it. If it runs, you're going to hit escape. If you have a crash, you're going to make sure you go to task manager, you're going to make sure it's closed. You're going to, after all that works, you're going to make sure that you have everything renamed. Hypermatch, you're going to make sure that you got Hypermatch, fitdread.com download section. I'm going to make it like I'm going to put it on there after this tutorial. You're gonna, do fuzzy match. You're gonna, if you want to manually input like your games into your databases, you can do that too. And then you're gonna test it in Hyperspin, and it's going to work. And then you're gonna rinse and repeat. Alright guys, that was a long tutorial. I know that it was kind of a lot at once, but hopefully with the instructions that I've given you, you'll be able to take a Hyperspin build that hasn't been, fleshed out or anything, and hopefully I saved you guys a lot of research time, and you guys will be able to build something from nothing, like I did. I didn't know anything about Hyperspin, I didn't know anything about Hyperlaunch, and I basically did a month straight of reading, banging my head against the wall, and figuring things out. I'm really good at kind of adapting to how software works and how it runs. So it wasn't a big deal for me to go in and do the reading and kind of dive deep into the programming of how everything works together, and then I was able to successfully get my arcade cabinet built. My advice to you, if you have any questions, please Google it first, and if you can't find anything, I'm always going to be here. Just send an email to me directly if you want to at fitdread@fitdread.com. Please post on the Hyperspin forums if you have Hyperspin related questions, and if it's a question about a non-supported game, always go to Google it. A lot of times, or not non-supported game, but non-supported system, a lot of times you can just Google, how do I get GameCube to work, Wii to work, how do I get PlayStation 2 to work, and you'll find people that have already made AHK files, and they have them available to download. You can find the themes online, Hyper Theme, and I think it's Emu Movies, and the Pirate Bay. You can go anywhere you want. You can find the themes. Everything is there. To me, what I did, I downloaded a build that was on the Pirate Bay, and it was like 95 gigs, 93 gigs or something. It was a Hyperspin build, and it has a it has like all the theming and stuff in there. There's no ROMs and stuff. You don't have to worry about that. There's ROMs everywhere, so don't have a problem looking for them. But the themes, that's going to be a lot of file storage space, 90-some gigs, and you're always going to be able to find custom themes. I found some Wii custom themes. I found some PlayStation stuff, and you'll be able to find that stuff. Just Google it, look around. If you guys want my themes bad enough, I'll be able to publish them, but, I only have a few, and they're, I don't know, personally, I don't think they're worth publishing. They're good enough for me. I don't know, I can always make more themes for the games I have, but we'll see. In the meantime, I hope I've answered most of your questions. I'm going to refer this video to you guys whenever I get more questions, and maybe I've answered it in this video. You'll see I'm going to link people to this video, because I probably would have saved myself a lot of time if I would have done this early on, because I've been helping people on an individual basis, and while I don't mind helping people out, I've been really busy lately, and it would have saved everyone a lot of time if I just had a tutorial up, right? So I'm trying to think of any last things that I missed. Specific emulators, Hyperspin, themes, I think that's it. So if you guys have any further questions, this has been FitDread's Hyperspin tutorial, and I look forward to seeing what you guys build. Thanks, take care.